Okay, so picture this. You've done everything right, gone to bed early, maybe skipped that late night snack, put the phone away, aiming for that solid 8 hours. And then you wake up and you just feel completely wrecked, like you've run a marathon in your sleep or something. You're still dragging through the day, totally exhausted. It makes you ask, right?
Yeah.
Why am I still tired even after getting 8 hours? So many people feel this. Okay, let's try and unpack this a bit. Today, we really want to go beyond just counting those hours and figure out the deeper reasons why that tiredness just won't quit.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? Because the answer, it's almost never just about the number. It really digs into, the complexity of sleep itself and, honestly, our whole lifestyle, our well-being.
Right. That's a huge point. We get so fixated on the quantity, the 8 hours. So where do we start? What's like the first layer we need to understand here?
Well, the absolute key difference is between sleep quantity and sleep quality. How many hours versus how good those hours actually are.
Okay.
Exactly. See, your body cycles through different sleep stages. There's light sleep, there's deep sleep, and then there's REM sleep, which is mostly when you dream. And it's those deep restorative phases that are absolutely crucial. That's when your brain does its cleanup crew work, clears out metabolic waste, locks in memories.
So if you're not hitting those deep stages properly.
Then, yeah, you might get the 8 hours logged in bed, but you're missing the actual, restoration part.
Okay, that makes sense. So if deep sleep is the goal, what kind of things, maybe things people don't even think about, are stopping us from getting there?
Well, you mentioned some common ones: noise, definitely stress, alcohol before bed. Those are big culprits. But a huge one today is blue light exposure from screens, phones, tablets, computers, right before trying to sleep. It basically tells your brain, hey, stay awake.
Right when it should be winding down.
Exactly. And even tiny disruptions, like waking up quickly to check your phone, can pull you out of that vital deep sleep cycle. So you might spend 8 hours in bed, but the sleep you get is, well, some call it junk sleep.
Junk sleep. Okay, tell me more about that.
It's kind of like, imagine eating nothing but fast food for 8 hours straight. You consumed a lot, technically, but you wouldn't feel nourished, right?
Not at all. You feel awful.
Exactly. So junk sleep is like that. You get the time, the hours, but not the actual quality, the deep, uninterrupted cycles your body and brain desperately need to recover.
That fast food analogy really hits home. Okay. And what about that feeling when you first wake up? The alarm goes off and you feel like you're moving through mud, totally groggy and just out of it. Sometimes feels like pure laziness.
Oh, yeah. But it's definitely not laziness. That's a real biological thing called sleep inertia.
Sleep inertia.
Yeah, it's basically a transitional brain state.
Oh.
It happens when you wake up, especially if your alarm jars you wake right out of deep sleep. It's like the thinking part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, is still sort of offline.
Still partly asleep, even though your eyes are open.
Pretty much. And that grogginess, that mental fog, it's not just annoying. Research shows it can actually impair your thinking reaction time for it.
How long?
Well, it can last anywhere from 30 minutes up to maybe even 90 minutes for some people.
Yeah, 90 minutes. Even after 8 hours of sleep. That's wild. Your brain is still catching up.
Exactly. So it really highlights that it's not just how much you sleep, but also how you wake up from that sleep.
Okay, so we need quality sleep, not just quantity. And we need to wake up gently, avoiding that sleep inertia fog. What else is at play here?
Well, timing is another huge piece of the puzzle. Getting that quality sleep at the right time for your body. And that brings us to your internal body clock, your circadian rhythm.
The master clock.
Precisely. And what's really fascinating, and maybe a bit concerning, is how easily we can mess this rhythm up in modern life. Things like staying up super late, staring at screens in the evening, eating at really irregular times, or having a totally chaotic sleep schedule, different bedtimes every night.
Guilty sometimes.
We all are. But all those things confuse your internal clock. Your body expects regularity. It wants to know when to release melatonin to help you sleep and when to release cortisol to help you wake up. Consistency is key.
So it's like trying to function normally if you suddenly flew to a different time zone, but you haven't even left your house.
That's a perfect analogy. Your body's timing is just completely thrown off. It's not ready to wake up when the alarm says it should be, or not ready to sleep when you finally crawl into bed.
So is getting 8 hours, say, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. one night and then maybe 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. on the weekend, is that actually hurting things?
It absolutely can. That inconsistency sends mixed signals. 8 hours is great, but 8 hours at roughly the same time every day, even on weekends, as much as possible, is much, much better for keeping that circadian rhythm happy and functional. Your body really does thrive on that predictability.
Okay. Quality, avoiding inertia, consistency. But what if you feel like you are doing all that? You're trying your best, consistent schedule, good sleep habits, but you're still just bone tired day in, day out.
That's when we need to consider the possibility of underlying medical issues, specifically sleep disorders that someone might not even realize they have.
Right, like things going on while you're asleep that you're not aware of.
Exactly. And a really big one is sleep apnea.
Yeah.
Millions of people have this, often completely undiagnosed.
Sleep apnea, that's about breathing, right?
Yes, it's where your breathing actually pauses or becomes very shallow repeatedly throughout the night. It can happen dozens, even hundreds of times. Now, you might not fully wake up each time, but your brain registers the drop in oxygen and jolts you just enough to restart breathing properly.
Oh, wow. So even if you don't remember waking up, your sleep is constantly being interrupted.
Precisely. Those little microarousals, as we call them, completely wreck your sleep architecture. They prevent you from settling into those deep restorative stages we talked about earlier. So you wake up feeling like you haven't slept at all.
That sounds exhausting just thinking about it. So loud snoring can be a sign. What else should people look out for? Are there other disorders too?
Definitely. Loud, persistent snoring is a key sign, especially if someone tells you that you gasp or choke in your sleep. Waking up with a really dry mouth or a headache can also be indicators. And it's not just apnea. There's also things like restless leg syndrome, that uncontrollable urge to move your legs, usually worse at night, or even chronic insomnia where you struggle to fall asleep or stay asleep, which sometimes people just attribute to being overtired.
So if someone listening recognizes those things, the loud snoring, gasping, constant exhaustion, despite trying to sleep enough, what's the advice?
The advice is really clear. Talk to your doctor. Seriously. Describe your symptoms. They might recommend a sleep study, which can properly diagnose conditions like apnea. Getting treatment can be absolutely life-changing for energy levels.
Okay, super important point. Don't just assume it's normal to be tired. But beyond the physical, like breathing issues, there's another angle too, right? Something more mental or emotional.
Yes, absolutely. And this one's big. We can't underestimate the impact of mental and emotional exhaustion on our overall energy.
So even if you sleep, your mind isn't resting.
Exactly. If you're dealing with chronic stress, maybe burnout from work or life, or just feeling emotionally drained, your brain can stay stuck in a kind of high alert mode. Think of it like leaving a really demanding app running constantly in the background on your phone. Even when the screen's off, it's still chewing through the battery. Your brain is doing something similar. It's not fully disengaging and recharging during sleep.
So you wake up feeling almost like you were worrying or problem solving all night, even if you don't remember specific dreams?
That's a very common description. You feel like you slept, physically you were still, but your mind feels like it ran a marathon. It hasn't had a chance to truly power down.
So sleep alone can't fix that kind of burnout.
Often. No, not entirely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the solutions often lie in managing the stress during the day. Things like mindfulness, meditation, maybe journaling to get thoughts out of your head, setting better boundaries around work, giving your brain actual downtime when you're awake.
Taking breaks during the day, not just relying on sleep to fix everything overnight?
Precisely. Sleep is crucial, but it can't magically erase deep-seated stress or emotional burnout on its own. You need strategies for waking life, too.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So we've covered sleep quality, inertia, timing, potential disorders, mental load. Is there anything else, like looking even broader?
Well, yeah. We have to acknowledge that sometimes feeling tired isn't just about sleep. It's deeply connected to our overall lifestyle, the fundamental.
That's a mental sleep.
Like asking yourself honestly, are you drinking enough water, like really enough throughout the whole day? Are you moving your body regularly? Doesn't have to be intense workouts, just consistent movement. And what about your food? Are you eating mostly nutrient-dense real food, or are you relying heavily on caffeine, sugar, and processed stuff to get through?
Oof. Yeah, the trifecta of tiredness right there. Dehydration, being sedentary, and poor nutrition.
Exactly. Because if you're constantly dehydrated, or your body isn't getting the fuel it needs from good food, or you're mostly sitting all day, you are almost certainly going to feel tired, no matter how perfectly you think you slept. You're essentially creating an energy deficit during your waking hours.
It's like trying to run a car on fumes and dirty oil, isn't it? No
Well-
matter how long you park it overnight, it's not going to run well the next day.
Perfect analogy. Your body fundamentally needs good fuel and good flow nutrients, hydration, movement, not just rest periods. These things are critical for maintaining energy while you're awake, which in turn impacts how rested you feel overall.
Okay, so this has been a real deep dive. If someone's listening and they're nodding along thinking, yep, 8 hours, still tired, what are the key questions they should be asking themselves now?
Well, based on our chat, I'd say start here. One, am I getting quality sleep or just logging time in bed? Think about those disruptions. Two, is my sleep schedule consistent or am I giving my body clock whiplash? Three, could there be something medical going on? Like that snoring, the gasping, is it time to see a doctor about a potential sleep disorder? And four, how's my mental and emotional load? Am I truly resting my brain
Hmm.
or just my body? Am I burnt out?
And maybe five, how are those fundamentals? Hydration, nutrition, movement.
Absolutely. Add that crucial fifth point, because the big takeaway really is that the solution might not be simply more sleep time. It might actually be better quality sleep, or it might be about improving how you live during the hours you're awake, which raises an important final thought.
Good one.
Well, how much of your waking time is actually restful or restorative for you? Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally too.
Hmm, that's a powerful question. Are we giving our brains and bodies a chance to recharge during the day? Or are we just pushing through until we collapse into bed hoping sleep fixes everything? Something to definitely mull over. Stay curious, stay rested.